With sweeping arpeggios and powerful ostinatos, New York progressive metal outfit Exodus Rising retells the most well-known events from the Bible in power metal fashion. At the end of their debut album, The Book of Life, I was overcome with one realization. The realization that religion is actually pretty metal. To start things off, there's definitely one barrier of entry to this album, and it's, of course, the subject matter. It's a very specific concept album, retelling stories from the Bible, including the Old and New Testaments. And if you know any metalheads, it should be pretty obvious that that's not their typical listening. If you're somebody interested in religion, especially Christianity, and you also like overarching narrative compositions and dramatic storytelling in your music, then this might be the album you're looking for. The intro is punchy and dynamic, and it's truly just a beginning. The Book of Life is full of amazing compositions and instrumental parts. When thinking about biblical characters, we typically view them as very stagnant and reducible just to like moral lessons they communicate, kind of like fairy tales. But these songs, particularly The World We Knew, had me for the first time consider the emotional implications the events and details of the Bible actually have on these characters, and it humanizes them in a very compelling manner. I'm not a huge prog or power metal fan, but his powerful singing reminds me of some Dream Theater or primarily Angra. It's very talented, and if you're a fan of those bands, you might be able to appreciate it more. It definitely becomes more immersive as you acclimate to the album's atmosphere. If you're a fan of piano and metal, then there are some incredible piano parts you might want to hear. I know I had a phase once where I would look for specific instruments in metal songs, and if you ever catch yourself in that position and you want to hear piano specifically, then this album is just full of some of the best like piano segments I've ever heard. The Old Testament songs have chant-like parts and instrumentation that makes it feel more scriptural, almost as if it's depicting the times when the songs were written. The songs definitely stylistically evolve, just like the stories do, especially when you get to the New Testament. I mainly like the songs about the Gospels because I think the New Testament lends itself better to this kind of storytelling, and it feels more prayerful. There's also a chant they use a couple of times, which I think is the Dies Irae. I'm not 100% sure, but I'd love to know, and it's cool to see metal musicians incorporating it into their songwriting. And if you don't know what it is, it's like a really popular chant that gets used in movies a lot. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like a symbol that's been used over time. It's in The Lion King, it's in Star Wars. It's really popular, and it's something I think about using in metal a lot, so it's cool to see that. I'm not a huge fan of the album art. It definitely has a 90s CG feel to it. I'm not sure if it's intentional, but there's some color theory stuff going on that I can appreciate it, but it's a bit too chaotic for my taste. I also think at times the Book of Life can be a bit too preoccupied with Satan, and I like the album when it spotlights biblical subjects that haven't been brought up in music since like classical music was a thing. And I know it's retelling stories that have Satan as a character, but it still feels cliche, particularly in metal, that I would rather them focus on other stories that usually don't get much attention. The World We Knew had some of the coolest bass lines I've heard in a long time, and Dreamer had some really powerful moments that stood out to me. I can't criticize too much because I'm not familiar with this style. It seems to live up to progressive metal or power metal expectations fairly well. I know Exodus Rising is a progressive metal band, but this felt very power metal to me. If I'm wrong about that, can somebody let me know? Because I don't want to mislabel them. I'm just going off of instinct here, but let me know in the comments. The World We Knew had some of the most interesting bass lines that I've heard in a long time, and Dreamer had some very impactful moments that stood out to me. The end, though, definitely took me by surprise and broke the fourth wall a little bit. There's a couple times throughout the Book of Life where the vocalist lets out these very raw and emotional fry screams that are just super moving, and I would love to hear him sing like that more. All in all, if you like the subject matter or progressive metal with awesome symphonic elements and instrumentation, this one's definitely worth giving a